Oh, and hi, I'm Susan. Tom, Tom's off in the back. Introduce yourself. Okay, hi, I'm Susan Carlson, and welcome to this introduction to a brand new series that Tom and I have come up with. We're calling it Fly on the Wall, Susan Carlson's Studio Watch. And we're really excited about this. It's something brand new. It's always kind of fun to have new things. And kind of opens up my opens my year off, my so-called sabbatical year, when I'm going to work on my own artwork and also do all sorts of online stuff for you guys to, either separately or to share. And this is one of those sharing things. I want to share some of the projects that I have in mind for the next year or so. It's kind of starts in October, actually, so a little more than a year. I'm sure you have more than realized that what I'll be talking about and showing and starting with this new series with a piece that I'm working on, the polar bear, is quite different from what I usually do. Usually, of course, I'm working with all sorts of colors. You can see part of my crocodile behind me. You'll see her in a little bit. And without, cottons and maybe rayons and polyesters, but patterns and color. And when Frida, the polar bear, I just had in my mind that she was just going to be lace, pretty much, white and various tones of white and beige on black parts. There's going to be a slideshow to start, which will kind of catch you up with where I am on this piece. I have already started it. So the first week, next Thursday, is going to be a little longer as far as the slideshow goes, because I have a little more to catch you up on. And you'll see that tonight. Tonight's slideshow is going to go back to kind of why I'm doing this, some of the thoughts behind it. Whereas next week, we're going to start the really doing stuff. But I'm going to catch you up with what I've done in the week up to where it will be next week. And then we will go, I will go over to the piece and climb up on the scaffolding and show you. I'm going to work for like 45 minutes or so. We'll see how it all goes, and I'll talk to you while I'm doing it and tell you a little bit about my thoughts. But that's not tonight. I will go over there and show you, where I'll be and how the camera angle. I feel like you're really like, you're not a fly on the wall. You're like a fly on my shoulder. And then I will come back both tonight and all the other nights. I'll come back over to my little Zoom area here and answer questions that you may have. So this project, this polar bear, is something that has been in my mind for quite a few years. And I finally found somebody who had some photos. So Joel Davidson, hey, Marilyn, I think I saw Marilyn out there. So anyway, hi to Joel and Marilyn. He is a photographer. He's done work, throughout the world, and he had polar bear photos that he let me look through. He printed them out, and they became the guide for my Winfrida polar bear. I also had in mind that I wanted to do this in lace, and I'm not quite sure where that thought first came about. Sometimes I'm cleaning up my studio and I come across things and boom, I want to, work with something. But I did have, I started pulling some lace aside to do this. The other thing is that part of what the whole idea here is that polar bears are part of, I'm going to get back to that in a little bit. Let me just talk about the lace, okay? I'll talk about the reasoning later. So here's some of the lace that I have. This right here is actually from my mom, because I talked to my mom about this idea and she goes, oh, you should use some of the lace that I have, in my shed. And so I went, and it wasn't just like a little bit of lace. There was bins of lace. And so I had so much to work with. And what was really kind of funny is that she had saved all sorts of like little pieces of lace. You can see on the right-hand side, some of those things are not very big. And I'm like, well, no wonder I collect scraps. of fabric because it must be in my DNA or something, because here's my mom. This had to have been saved from about 40 years ago. So that was kind of fun to see and collect, and you'll see a little more of that later. Now, the back of this, the background of this piece, I'm really working quite differently than I usually do. And I know a lot of you guys have been in my classes and are familiar with how I work and how I teach how I want you guys to work. But this is really kind of mixing everything up, which has been quite exciting for me. I started with a blank black canvas, basically, and that's a kind of a, actually, it's kind of a little fuzzy, a little bit of velvety, kind of a stretchiness to it. So we'll see how that works out in the end. But I'm trying all sorts of new things. I also had to figure out how to get this drawing of my polar bear up there, because I had taken Joel's photos and created a drawing. There's the drawing right there. In next week's, when the series actually starts, I'll be showing a little more about how I went about using multiple photos from Joel to create this one image. But I am just trying to keep the ball rolling tonight already, though I'm already talking a little bit too much. So here's this one. I wanted a standing polar bear. And part of, now I'm going to get into the idea of the polar bear. I looked up maybe a couple years ago, animals, different species of animals that are not likely to survive in the wild to the end of this century. And the polar bear was like number one. We all know that these animals are in crisis. Things are happening climate wise. And the polar bears are like literally losing their ground to stand on. They need ice flows in order to hunt. They don't hunt normally from the land. And so they're losing their foothold. So my bear is on a black background, which is just going to be like a void. So she's just going to be standing there kind of looking at us and disappearing. And that was part of the reason why lace came to mind, because lace has holes in it and she's just kind of going to be fading off. And I'm not sure how it's all going to end as far as this piece goes, but that's my beginning thoughts. And that's why the lace and why the black background. And here you can see that I am drawing onto directly onto this velvety texture, and I didn't quite know what to use. So earlier you saw me using a shard of soap, and now I switched over to some chalk. So there's a couple different things that I've put on, and you can kind of scratch it off if I make a mistake, but I'm freehand drawing it based on that gridded drawing that I made. So here I'm holding the drawing in my hand. I'm using the grid on the drawing to match it up to the grid on this on my board. And the grid is created by yarn. I didn't know how else to do it, but I strung yarn. I pushed pins in at the intersections, and then yarn is strung back and forth and up and down. So that's keeping me pretty much on the mark as far as my drawing goes, and the proportion, because she's 8 feet tall, and 8 feet is because that's the average size of a female polar bear. I couldn't make her I couldn't go up to the 8 or 9 foot because I only have 9 foot ceilings. And so the 8 foot was really about as much as I could do. And so I could do the whole thing without like folding her. So we go with our limitations. Now, there she is drawn. And if you don't already know this lovely little lady with me, that is my mom, who goes by Oma. Oma is German for grandmother. She's so happy she's in Oma, more than 25 years now, that she wants everybody to call her Oma. And I know that a lot of you guys out there have Oma's pumpkins. And so that's a little thing. And there will be another batch of Oma's pumpkins coming, relatively soon. So anyway, there's my mama. And I wanted to introduce her to this bear because I've named her after her mother, my Oma, Winfrieda. because as I was working on her, and you know, she's a female bear size, and she was just staring at me, and I'm looking at her, and she became kind of matriarchal to me. So she's the matriarch here, and my mama is our family's matriarch. And so I said, Mama, I'm naming her Winfrida. And she just loved it. I think she almost started crying. So that was very sweet. And I wanted to include this slide and that little story for you guys. Now here's a close-up of Winfrida's face. And again, getting ready to get started and putting the first pieces of lace on it. I started this back in February, and I worked a good month. You'll see most of the slides here or pieces of the slides are going to be from the first month. And then I got interrupted by traveling and teaching, but I got to start. That's really one of the hardest things. And I know those of you who have done fabric collage understand that. Or actually, a lot of things are hard to start. But once you get going and on a roll, it's good. So I got my first pieces of lace down, trying some different types. You know, one was a printed cloth, another one is like a little doily sort of thing. And I'm just cutting them up and using them in their patterns, you know, their curves, trying to apply the same thoughts that I do with my fabric, where I'm cutting out the printed designs from the cotton or whatever the fabrics are, and using that, except this time it's just has a lace base that you can see through. Now here, oh, I didn't point out that I was standing on a ladder when I first started drawing this. So I don't know if I'm not going to go back to it, but it was a ladder. And I said to Tom at one point, I came down, I was like, oh, my feet are like all cramped up. I can hardly move. And you know what, but I think within a day, he had the scaffolding. He went out and to the hardware store and got scaffolding for me. So now I can stand 4 feet up in the air and work on this because I'm not tall enough otherwise. And it's, you know, relatively comfortable. I have some pads on it now, some little foam pads, which help. But I wanted to show here as I got started, I was able to start getting used to standing on a scaffolding. Ginny, my cat, you're going to see her in a few slides along the way and through the weeks to come too. I'm sure that she'll show up. So she was all curious about what this new little play, you know, stand was, something she can jump up on and curl up and go to sleep. So she finally got bored after a while, but this does seem to be a favorite spot of hers when I'm out working. And here now a few more pieces are getting in place. And I think it was around here that my anxiety about starting this, you know, this new thing, and is it going to work? And I was starting to see that it's going to work. You know, again, I'm just pulling up the fabrics and finding any sort of pattern that's in them that I can use for the curvature of a face, or, you know, and as I go through, it's going to, you know, become, you know, the rest of her curves too. For a while, I had a little bit of red in the nose that has disappeared now because I decided it was just a little too distracting. But, you know, it's all part of trying something. You have an idea, you try it, see what happens. Things get covered up and then you see like layers because you can see through things. You see a little bit of what's underneath it, a little bit of the color that's underneath it. You know, mostly white, you know, in quote, lace is also beige and, you know, a little bit of an ecru or whatever you call that color, kind of a goldenish color. And you'll see some of those show up now too. So these are all the beginning things I want to show you to kind of catch up where I'm at. There's a close-up. I'm going to take a sip of tea here. And I've used pins to hold everything in place. And then when things look, you know, pretty good, or when I start catching too many things on the pin heads or run out of them, I ran out of them once or twice, I will go back in and do some gluing. the gluing is really just the same way I do all my other fabric collage gluing. And um, and I will be showing that once I get working on this next week. That'll be part of what I show you. So I'll be showing you, you know, a little bit about the lace that I'm picking out, what I'm looking for. One thing that was kind of a revelation for me is that it's really the areas that I want to be darker that I have to just put down one layer, because I have to think ahead a little bit about where the darker areas are going to fall. Like as I started getting into the areas, under her, on her neck, under her chin. Now that's one of those more golden colors. It's an older lace. And I'm honestly not sure. I think it has discolored a little bit, but anyway, it used to be a little lighter. But I'm using antique lace in here, and I'm using old, newer lace, so all sorts of things. A few friends have given me some wedding dress lace, so she's going to be this whole compilation of pieces from, I've got some of my mom's wedding dress in it already, and there's lace collars and things from people, and all sorts of stuff. But the areas that need to be lighter have to have more pieces on them, or lighter, whiter pieces. And then other areas need to have less. Now, I think this is a piece where this is pretty much after a month's work. So there was, some interruptions in that, but I really was concentrating pretty well. And then I was getting ready for classes again. And so the whole travel packing and all that stuff kicked in. And on the left is where I left her. And then probably in June, I got back a little bit, but it wasn't until August that I really got a little more into, back really going on a roll here. And you can see she got her second ear. I fleshed out her face, so I figured out how far out her face was. Every so often I'd have to go back in and do a little more redrawing, because just my hand moving on it, or moving the fabric against the piece kind of erases some of my chalk lines. But that's okay. It's more the essence of the bear as opposed to the exactness of the bear. With the way you see it on the right, that's pretty much where she is now. And I did have September was also taking time off for traveling and teaching, but now I'm back. So I'm ready to get going on it and take her now to the next, keep moving down her body and taking you along with me. So what else can I say about here? Oh, you can see some of the lace that I'm using, like hanging there down over on the right. There's collars that I'm using, and parts of garments. And her ears are part of a collar too, like the little lapels. They had 2 lapels on it, and it became 2 ears. And I just kind of manipulated them to be, and they were just like the right shape. It was really amazing how some of these things have been happening and just fitting into place perfectly. Do I have more? That's not the end, Tom.
Yeah, no. Click on it again.
Oh. Is this?
Yep.
Okay, so these are some of the new ones. So there we go. There's a close-up of where she is now. I did get a lot of gluing done, so you see fewer pins on her and more pins outside of her. And there's a close-up. The nose, I did point out that she doesn't have red in the nose anymore, so there we go. There's a reworked nose that That'll be one of the things I'll be showing in next week's slideshow, is really going into some of those features, the detail. I'll show, the nose going through, I'll show the eyes, moving through, so that you can see how both of those features kind of progressed, her face in general, and then move on to the rest of her. So there is a lot of space, a lot of slides to show. Like I said, it's going to be a little slide heavy next week, just so you know. And then from then on, it's going to be shorter, because it's really just taking where I end up from talking with you one Thursday until I get back to talking with you again the next Thursday. So we'll see how each week goes. I'll catch you up, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm very excited about this. And let's see. Yep, I'm going to talk a little bit about the fabrics, what I'm looking for in the fabrics. The color, the value. Some have a little bit of a sheen to them. Some are very matte. I do every so often, I'm coming across some fabrics, some lace with color in them. There's a little bit of purple right there in the slide. I don't think that's going to come in, but I can't make any promises, because I'm kind of taking this as I go, taking an idea and running with it. The fabric on the upper left of the screen, I'm sure that some of you are saying, wait, that is not lace. You're right, it's not lace. But I came across it in my wonderfully textured stash of fabrics. I'm like, I really want to use this. It's really cool. I did use a bit of it in her muzzle. And anyway, it looks lacy. I'm going to keep it in. We're just going to say. So it's my piece. I can say what I'm going to use. All right. Oh, and then, yeah, so Ginny, she really looked cute one day, curled up on top of some of the yard, I think it's crocheted. I don't do that handwork, but it's a bedspread that it has a lot of holes to it. So if I need to use it, I'm going to feel okay using it up. It's not perfect already, but Ginny has been finding fun spots to lay down. And that was the view that I had, that I took of her. So she found a wonderful little place to climb up to and take a nap. And that's me looking down from my perch where I am working on this piece. Okay, so I hope you're don't send in your questions yet, but I am switching now from the slideshow, and I'm going to now walk over to Winfrida, and in the process, I'm going to show you Stevie, because she's kind of in between me and Winfrida right now. So here's Stevie the crocodile. If you're not familiar with her, you can check her out on my blog post. Just put in crocodile, and it'll come up with all sorts of posts for you to look at. I think there's maybe, I don't know, four in a series that tell you from beginning to end of her. She's 20 feet from nose to tail. So I'm going to walk along here now. She's my studio companion, along with my cat. So let's see. I'm going to keep going. So here we go, coming along here, see some of the fabrics that I tend to use. And her tail disappears underneath Winfrida, because here now is my space, my board to work on her. Before I climb up on the scaffolding, though, I am going to dislodge the cat and show you some of the fabrics that I'm using, my lace. So these are the things that I pulled out of my mom's shed. Come on, Ginny. Watch out, baby. Oh, keep going. Okay. All right. Here we go. Watch out, cat. Okay. So here now, there were like boxes of these things, these containers. And so this is the kind of stuff that I'm being able to paw through. This is some of the yardage. I know you can't see it very well, but it's okay. You get the idea. There's just lots of stuff I have to use as a whole new palette of fabric. So again, pretty cool stuff. Come on, out of the way. Keep going. Keep going. Ugh, she has claws. Yeah. Okay. Scoot out of the way, baby. Watch out. Okay, there we go. All right. So here, all sorts of stuff. This is some of the stuff I've already been pulling from. I've kind of sorted that these might be, might be good. So much stuff to use. And then there's this one. And I think in this drawer, this is the drawer that I've already cut pieces from. So those of you guys that talk about fabric palettes, and I already have cut some stuff down and cut pieces out. And then it goes in here because I know if I need more, it's right there. And, it's just, the stuff is all over the place. And doilies, there will be a lot of texture in her. So, she's a matriarch, and a lot of these things, there are things that I have used already and that I will use that have been handmade by other women, or by women. So it's kind of a tie-in to that kind of feminine energy as well. So now you kind of met the slides. Here's some of the fabrics I'm using. And let's now go up and try to do this. Oh, again, try not to lose the mic here. So here is my ladder. And this is how I get up to the scaffolding. And I'm learning that once you get up here, you make a stand and you don't move your feet. So, and so far so good. I'm just going to try not to topple off of it live on camera. Okay. Now I'm going to turn, am I turned yet? No. So I'm going to turn around. Tom is going to go, the camera is right here. He has a camera set up right there. And that's what he'll look over my shoulder. So you there, Tom? Okay. See, here I am. Hi, there I am. And here's Winfrida. So this kind of matches up with some of those slides I show you, but lots of texture. This is one of the newer things I just put up. A beautiful, I think it has to do with a collar or something too, but just a beautiful piece of lace work there. And it's adding to the folds in her skin. And you can see like out toward the edges where I would want to have shadows or a darker value, because lighter areas come forward and darker areas recede. So like, for instance, this piece I picked because it was a piece of lace that had bigger holes in it. So more dark is going to show through. So it's quite a different way of working, which is challenging. And I love to give myself challenges in what I do. And it's kind of energizes me. And I feel very energized in trying this new thing out. I've done a lot of gluing, so there's a few loose edges, lots of layers are happening here. Don't ask me about quilting yet because I don't know, but we shall see. And that'll happen one way or another. You can see again here a couple layers, and I'm getting the contours. I'm having a lot of fun finding lace that has contours to it. Like this was a wonderful swoop of her cheeks going up into her temples, and then there's curly cues here, and a little bit of black lace for the inner ears I've started using. I've happened to not, before I stopped working, before traveling in September, I never got this brow done, which actually worked out fine because I'm going to start with this next week, and I'll show finishing that area up and probably lightening up the brows a little bit on both sides too. Polar bears don't have black eyebrows, so this is definitely missing a bunch of fabric there. So I'll find something and I'll show you. I'll show you what I find and cut out and put up there and glue down. And, you know, again, I'll probably show in slides the adjustments to the nose that I made, but I'm really liking the way she's coming out. And here, you know, less lace, thinner lace. I do have a couple pieces here I can kind of show. You know, this is the kind of patterns. This is a nice one. I've used that pattern a few times. And let's see. Oh yeah, this one over here. There's a white one. Sorry, I know you can't see where I'm looking at, but here it is. This one has come in and used very nicely for some of the lighter areas because it's light colored and it has some really nice contours to it. That's the kind of stuff I'm doing, but each one, as I move down her, I'm sure there'll be different things I'm looking for depending on her visual texture and the folds of her down her neck and into the rest of her body. So now, Tom, if you want to, yeah, oh yeah, Tom's going to show the zoom. I forgot that. Okay, so now he's going to zoom in, and you can see how really close we can get from the camera as I'm working on things. So you're going to get a really, really good eye view. And like I said, it's kind of like you're looking right over my shoulder, you know, as I work. Anything else, Tom? Okay, so I think I covered most of those things. If I didn't, you guys can let me know in questions. If I go over here, Tom, do you want to go to the, go over to this camera? Yep. All right, so now, okay, so we're back over here. And I just wanted to give a little preview for next week. What I'm thinking I'm going to be working on next will be these folds of fur underneath her neck. And if I go by my drawing, there's about, there's like 3 more, or wait, there's another fold coming here and another fold coming here of this wonderful layers of fur going down into her chest. So that will be the next thing to be working on. And I pretty much anticipate I'm going to be working on this not just on Thursdays, but you know, all through the month of October. So I kind of feel that by the end of the month, you're going to see, you know, pretty much all of her, if not all of her. So I hope that you are interested in coming along on this journey with me and seeing how she comes together. And each week you'll have a chance to let's see, try to do this as gracefully as possible. You'll have a chance to ask questions along the way. So now we're going to go back to my little Zoom seat over here, passing Stevie along the way. So let's questions, yeah, and questions, you guys. Okay, oh yeah, here we go. We got some stuff happening. All right. And the more people that I see, I'd love to say hello to everybody I see, but that would take up. Anyway. Hi guys, it's wonderful seeing names that I recognize. So the first question here, from Deborah, I was wondering how the muzzle was whiskery, lovely textured fabric to support the lace. Oh yeah, right. That was that upholstery fabric, wasn't it? Yeah. But I also have some lace that has lines in it too, so that might come in later. All right. What glue do you use? It is Aleene's tacky glue. Hold on. I got one. I got it. Okay, I got a big one right here. So I have different size bottles, but there it is. That way. Okay. Aleene's tacky glue, original formula. It's in my blog post, in my blog. Just get into any of the blogs and in the search engine, put in glue or put in why glue, because that is the title of the blog post you're going to want to see, because I talk all about it and show you videos and stuff too. Also, any of you guys have the masterclass, the online masterclass manual, that has all sorts of information on the basic fabric collage process, which is actually what I'm doing. It just happens to be a different, I'm kind of looking differently at some of the fabric. You know, it's still patterns, it's still, you know, shades and color variation. The kitty is sleeping on the exact pattern of tablecloth crocheted my mother made. Yes, yes. I think I have something from my grandmother on my dad's side that is that same pattern. Yeah. Sandy, I saw her when she was just getting finished.
Just croc.
Oh, the croc.
See, that's
Oh.
what she's- yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So yes. So Sandy, yep, saw, oh,
Julie. Oh,
Julie.
no, you're right, Sam.
I'm listening to Tom and reading the chat. It's the two aren't working together. All right. So Patty, when the lace motif is on netting, how much of the netting do you cut away? I'm leaving a little bit extra because it kind of is like a blender then. Unless as I get more detail in it, it might be that I'll cut away more of the netting because I want that maybe the either the texture or the color of the lace to really stand out on its own. But I am leaving a little extra at the moment.
And there's a question.
Yeah. How are you keeping glue off the underneath quilt? Well, it's a piece of fabric, right, that's underneath.
She's worried about sneezing.
Oh, Julie. Oh, hey, Julie. How we can, so you're asking about Stevie, I assume. Stevie will not be harmed. Stevie the crocodile is perfectly safe. There is a 2-inch piece of insulation board that the black fabric that Winfrida is on, the polar bear is on, is wrapped around. So it is that it's not even a possibility of getting glue on it. Do you recommend we also work on a project? Oh, okay. Deborah asks. Well, that's up to you. If you want to work along on something, you know, that's fine. This is it's not so much. I'm kind of learning. I'm going to show you my thought process. So it's not like I haven't processed this to the point of actually showing a project to you. I'm showing you what I'm doing in the experimenting with this new fabric essentially that I'm working with. So, but if you get so inspired, you know, start working on something and, you know, let's show people what you got. Let's see. If you miss a session, can you watch a recording? So Craig is asking, yes, but as we're thinking about it right now, Tom is going to put them all together in one video, which means that if you miss the third one or the fourth one, you don't have long to wait. But if you miss the first one next week, you will need to wait. I don't know if that's going to change, but that's what we're figuring right now to make it easier for someone down the road, like someone next year, they could buy the recording and it's only one recording they need to buy as opposed to 4 recordings they need to buy. So that all has to do with putting something together, which is down Tom's alley and not my alley. So that'll be up to him. But that's what we're thinking right now. It's going to be one available in the beginning of November. But you can always come back. I mean, you can also, you'll see the catch up video. So if you miss number 2, you can still come to number 3.
Slideshow.
Slideshow. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, not video. I'm sorry.
Slideshow.
The catch up slideshow, not the yeah, sorry. The catch up slideshow will at least get you a little bit of what you've missed. And Angelique, what is behind her eyes? There seems to be a faint pattern in the black. Yes, there is. And I'll show you guys that next week. The hint is that it's a couple layers of lace. So it's all lace. So it's all in the lace. And there is like this really cool thing that I found, very serendipitous, and it worked perfectly. So Let's see. Sylvie, I love the story behind her name. Oh, brought tears to our eyes. Thank you, Sylvie. um, uh, so Wanda, laces are both natural fiber and synthetics. I'm assuming so, yes. Yep, I'd say there is some stuff I've cut, definitely feeling polyester. Other stuff, like some of the crocheted stuff is probably cotton. So it's a mixture. Yep. Let's see. Anne, saw your drawing of when Frida is only partially done. Are you planning it as you go along, also in a grid system? No, actually it's there. It's just a little faint looking. Partially is because I've, kind of dragged some lace across it. And as I get to that area, I can see it. It's harder to see through the camera, but I can see it. And also in the slideshow next week, you will see that she is complete all the way down to her feet. But it's harder to see. You're viewing it from a little farther along, and the detail was right on the head, which is already covered, with lace. So, but you'll see that she's there. But I do have to go over it a little bit to re-accent it as I get to it. All right. Julie says, phew, yeah, I know. She's going to be big. Grace, use Q&A. Guess this should be, okay. Are you cutting your pieces before you climb the scaffolding or while you are there? While I'm there. So I very carefully kind of bend down or something, but really I plant my feet and I don't move them. So every so often I have to come down and move a little more, but it's working, it's all working fine. I just am careful when I'm bending down. Joanne, hey, are you still tucking the pieces under the previous pieces? Not necessarily. Some of it's on top, and that's that kind of blending that's happening. I have a little bit of the netting, a little bit of lace, and they all seem to be going together, and some go under, some. If it's more the base, then it probably is going under something.
Skip down to this one at the bottom.
Oh, Tom wants me to. Oh, Anne says, I did mean your small drawing on the left side. Oh, so what you saw there, Anne, is kind of like a little Franken drawing. So after I did the drawing, I realized that with having her 8 feet tall, a person standing looking up, like for me, that's, like 2.5 feet, 3 feet above me. When I look up, that perspective is going to kick in, and her head will actually look smaller as it's moving away from me. So I thought I would kind of nip that problem in the bud. And Tom took the original drawing that I made and enlarged just the head and like the ruff around the shoulders a percentage. And I don't remember what it was, Tom. It wasn't much, like 15% or 10 or 15%, something like that, just a little touch bigger. And then he printed it out onto paper, and then I cut around it, and it was only like, probably that big. I cut around it and then attached the enlarged head, the enlarged ruff onto the shoulders, kind of like a big mask or something. And it looked, it didn't really make a difference in the perception as a whole, but now her head is a little bit just slightly bigger. So when you're looking up, she should look a little more in proportion than out of proportion. And what you saw was the white of the printout against the translucency of the tracing. That's what you saw. Okay. So, okay, Linda, well, Linda already left. She's preparing for the hurricane. So good luck, Linda. Good luck, all of you other people that are in the path of that. And I'm sure if anybody signed up for it, I hope they'll be able to view it, this later, because they probably don't have power right now. So anyway, good luck to all of you guys who are in that weather pattern right now. Suzanne joined late. Something about a slideshow. Will that be available? Yeah, Suzanne, anybody who missed tonight's, it's going to be, Tom will have a link to the video of tonight's presentation. In the blog post.
No,
Okay.
it won't be a link, it'll be the actual video.
Oh, he's having the actual video in the blog post. So just get back on Saturday morning. If you've subscribed to the blog post, make sure you click on that email and you will be able to watch this video.
If not, go to susancarlson.com.
And if not, go to susancarlson.com and get on the blog post. Yep. And go up to where it says my blog. Click on that. It'll put you onto Saturday's post and it again will be there. All right, Margaret, do you limit the number of times you use a piece of fabric? Do you try to repeat fabric and lace? I do try to limit. I mean, or I try to use as many pieces as I can, many different pieces. There's some places where a little symmetry is nice, like that curve I showed you about the cheek up to the temple, same fabric, both sides. But I do, if I find myself going to one piece a lot, I climb down and get another piece from those boxes and, and then start using that. Oh yeah, talking about the hurricane. Okay. Well, I tell the story of Winfrieda in my blog. Eventually, yeah. The Fly on the Wall series is going to be like the big picture. It's like all this information that if I would try to document it and get it into the blog post, it would take me longer to do that than to actually do the piece. And I'm just trying to get going on my own art and really kind of moving on it, and not document it, not take pictures every other minute. So the blog, I think maybe in November, after this is all done, I might do a short kind of overview in the blog for people that maybe couldn't be participating in the series. And but it's going to be like, it'll be definitely an overview of it. And is that the question? Yeah. Now I lost. Yeah. And I'll tell the story of Winfrieda. Yeah. Because I think knowing why I'm doing something and why is she called Winfrieda is probably something most everybody would like to hear. What type of pins am I using? Right now it's whatever I have. I did get some newer, shorter pins to use because some of them are bending as I put them in. But I have like, the yellow-headed quilting pins, and then I got some of those pins I tried, which are good for like arthritis and stuff, just to test them out for people and for my mom. It's really whatever I have. And by the time I get a bunch of pins in there, it's like whatever I can scrounge from the floor because I run out of pins. I've run out of pins twice now, and then I have to go and glue and free up some pins. Linda, hey Linda, is some of the lace difficult to hold when there isn't enough surface area? Glue. Oh, glue. I haven't had trouble with that. There's actually, it's been really easy. The no glue is showing through. I was a little concerned, would somehow the texture of the black, the kind of little bit of a velvety texture, be interfering with the glue. And so far it's really good. And the lace has pattern to it, so I just put a little glue under the pattern. Yeah, it works really well. Are you having more difficulty applying glue because the bear is not flat? No. I think it's because of the texture of the lace. Nope, lace attaches to lace. Yep, it's all good. Not sure how the quilting is going to go, but I have a couple ideas for that. Oh, I think Anne, that was about the drawing again. Yep, good. I explained it right, and Suzanne said great too. So at least I'm explaining things well. Let's see, Noreen, to get the symmetry, are you using one side or piece inside out, or are you actually finding two pieces that are mirror images of each other? Probably a little both is happening, because lace, you can pretty much flip it to one side or the other. A lot of the patterns I have, though, the lace fabrics do seem to have like a symmetry. Like it might be, maybe a flower here, and then it's got like leaves that turn this way, and so then there's the symmetry right there. So it is working really well. I'm very happy with it.
And that's it.
And that's it. Okay, so
Any last-
yeah, any last questions? Pop them in right now. This is good. I didn't want to go any more than an hour, keeping you guys on this, introductory.
there's one more.
Oh, there's another one. Does the fabric stand alone or is there a supportive base? Seems like it'd be a little floppy to use. I'm cutting small pieces, so I'm only applying small pieces so that it's no floppier than any other fabric that I might be using, maybe even less so than some. So it's not a big piece, it's, again, I'm taking patterns and cutting it smaller using smaller things. I don't think there's any piece has been bigger than maybe, I don't know, probably no more than like maybe 2 or 3 inches. Maybe I don't know. Most of it's pretty small. Yeah.
And Roz,
Roz, hey Roz. You were using a board behind. Yes, it's a 2-inch insulation board that you would get from a hardware store. Yeah, and it's 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. So then that's the way they come. So that's the way she is. That's how big she is. 8 by 4. Let's see, Rebecca, do you think you might be adding any embellishments later after the quilting, embroidery, etc.? Good question. I guess you'll see. But I just might be kind of stretching out here. All right, Rebecca, oh, no, sorry, that was that was that one. Melissa, loved it. Thank you for taking the time to share your story and techniques. Yep. You're very welcome, Melissa. Yep, and Patty, insulation board behind it. Craig, hope everyone has a great Friday, even though we are already in hours here in Australia. Oh, we do have someone from Australia. All right. I missed that as it was going through. So yes, well, happy Friday down there. And to everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. If you're in the path of the storm, I hope you stay safe. All right. Hey, take care, you guys. All right. And I will see you later. Thank you for joining me tonight. It was fantastic. It was such a great response from you guys. Stay safe out there, guys.